Guys, this is Dharma here. So today we are going to discuss about the most important topic, that is bronchial asthma. Okay. So outlines of the today's lecture are introduction, pathophysiology, clinical features, drug treatment, advances and complications. So basically, asthma is a respiratory condition in which person's airway become inflamed, narrowed, swollen, and produce a extra mucus, which makes difficult to breathe. Okay. So let's start with the introduction first. So asthma is a chronic inflammatory disorder of the airways. Okay, so it is a chronic condition and it is a inflammatory disorder, which means there is some involvement of inflammatory process. So it is characterized clinically by recurrent episodes of symptoms. So asthma has a recurrent episodes of symptoms, so it is a episodic condition. Symptoms includes wheezing, breathlessness, chest tightness, and cough. So these are the main symptoms, particularly at night or early morning. Physiologically characterized by widespread reversible narrowing of the bronchial airways. Okay, so what does mean by the reversible narrowing of the bronchial airway? So during attacks, there is a temporary narrowing of the airways. Okay. Normally our bronchi are dilated. Okay, but in asthma there is a bronchoconstriction. Okay, so there is a narrowing of the airway, but it is temporary, and a marked increase in bronchial responsiveness. So in asthmatic patient, even a small stimuli can trigger attacks of asthma. Okay, the stimuli in the form of allergens like pollens, mites, dust, molds, etc. So asthma is characterized by airflow obstruction, airway inflammation, and the bronchial hyperresponsiveness. So there is a airflow obstruction. So it suggests that asthma is a obstructive condition. So what happens in obstructive condition? So in obstructive condition, there is a difficulty in exhaling air out of the respiratory system or lungs. Okay, difficulty in expiration due to airway airflow obstruction, which is caused by a bronchoconstriction or bronchospasm. Second is airway inflammation, which means there is a process of inflammation in pathophysiology of asthma. We will discuss it later. And the third is bronchial hyperresponsiveness. So here is the diagram of normal lung and the comparison between the normal lung and asthmatic lung. So in normal lung, muscles are relaxed, smooth muscles are generally relaxed. There is no bronchoconstriction, and there is a normal lining of our respiratory tract and the normal amount of mucus production or secretion. While in asthmatic lung, there is a constriction of or a tightening of the smooth muscles of respiratory tract, and there is a swollen lining due to inflammation, and there is a excessive mucus production. Okay, which makes it difficult to breathe. Here you can see that there is a narrowing of the airway. Here the airways are dilated, and here is airways are totally narrowed. Now classification. So it is a heterogeneous disorder. So heterogeneous disorder means it involves more than one types. So here are the two main types of asthma. First is atopic and the second is non-atopic asthma. So let's discuss atopic asthma. So it is a extrinsic or allergic asthma, also known as extrinsic or allergic asthma. It is the most commonest type, and it constitutes around 70% of cases. It is a IgE mediated immune response to environmental antigens. So there is involvement of IgE antibodies. It suggests that there is a role of humoral immunity. Okay, there is also a role of cell mediated immunity. We will see it in a pathophysiology in response to environmental antigens. Here antigens are allergens. Okay, and the term itself suggests that it is allergic, means there is involvement of allergens. Second is non-atopic or intrinsic or non-allergic asthma. So it is uncommon type, constitute around only 30%, and the word itself suggests that it is non-allergic, means there is no involvement of any allergens, and it is intrinsic, means it is totally an internal condition. Okay, so it is triggered by non-immune stimuli. Patient have negative skin test as there is no presence of any allergen, and a normal serum concentration of IgE. There is no change in level of serum IgE antibodies concentration, and asthma may be triggered by aspirin, pulmonary infection, cold, exercise, psychological stress, or inhaled irritants. Okay, so we have discussed about the two main types of asthma. Along with this, other types of asthma are also present. So the third is cough variant asthma. Okay, so the symptoms of cough variant asthma is mainly dry and unproductive cough. Unproductive cough. Fourth is occupational asthma. It is associated with occupation of patient, asthma due to occupation. And the fifth is exercise-induced asthma. So asthma may be triggered or precipitated by strenuous exercise. Okay, there will be a narrowing of the airway, production of wheeze, etc. Sixth is medication induced asthma. So certain drugs like NSAIDs, aspirin will precipitate asthma. Okay, asthma due to medication. Seventh is nocturnal asthma, means asthma only at night. So here is the classification of asthma based on the severity of attacks and the symptoms. Okay, so it is a mild intermittent asthma. Second is mild persistent asthma. Third is moderate persistent asthma, and the fourth is severe persistent asthma. So there is involvement of humoral and cell mediated immunity in both the types, atopic and non-atopic asthma. So hence they are treated in a similar way. Now pathophysiology of asthma. So this was all about types of asthma, introduction and all. Now let's discuss pathophysiology. So pathophysiology of asthma is somewhat complex because it involves certain steps, presence of inflammatory cells, inflammatory mediators, etc. So it involves two parts. First is chronic inflammation and the second is airway hyperresponsiveness. So what happens in inflammation? It is a chronic inflammatory state. It involves a respiratory mucosa from trachea to terminal bronchioles. Okay, so the term itself suggests that it is a bronchial asthma, means there is involvement of bronchi, and there is activation of mast cell, infiltration of eosinophils and Th2, that means T helper type 2 cell lymphocytes. Okay, so in inflammation phase there is a role of certain interleukins, like interleukin 4 will stimulate IgE production, interleukin 3, 4, 9 will activate mast cell, interleukin 5 will activate eosinophils, interleukin 13 will stimulate mucus production, and presence of certain inflammatory mediators produced by cells like produced by cells such, and inflammatory mediators are leukotrienes, cysteine leukotrienes, okay, histamines, prostaglandin, prostanoids, etc. So here is the diagram of pathophysiology of asthma. Here black dots are allergens. Okay, so the respiratory tract is lined by a pseudostratified columnar epithelia. So there is a presence of goblet cells in this epithelium which secretes mucus. There is a presence of cells like dendritic cell and mast cell inside the lining of bronchi or respiratory tract, and they have different functions. So let's discuss the pathophysiology. Here's the allergens will came in contact with dendritic cells. Okay, so these cells will start engulfing allergens. Okay, so that means allergens are activating dendritic cells. Along with this columnar epithelia, pseudostratified columnar epithelia will secrete thymic stromal lymphocyte. So what is the function of this thymic stromal lymphocyte? So it conditions activated dendritic cell to produce chemoattractant to attract the Th2 cells. Okay, so here the T helper 2 cells are the most important cells because it will activate the different pathways. So this thymic stromal lymphocyte will condition activated dendritic cell to produce chemoattractant to attract Th2 cells. Now this dendritic cell will produce chemoattractant which will attract the Th2 cells, accumulation of Th2 cells. Now what is the function of these Th2 cells? So Th2 cells will promote plasma cells, these are the plasma cells, to produce IgE antibodies through interleukin 13 and interleukin 4. Secondly, Th2 cells will promote eosinophil production in bone marrow through interleukin 5. Okay, so there is a direct activation of mast cell through interleukin 9 by Th2 cells. Now let's discuss here. So what does these IgE antibodies do? These IgE antibodies will bind with the mast cell to produce mast cell IgE complex. Okay. Now let's discuss here. These eosinophils will produce certain proteins like major basic proteins, then the radical oxygen species, granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor interleukin 8 and cysteine leukotrienes. Okay, so this was the function of eosinophil which will promote the inflammation. Okay, so let's discuss here. So there is a formation of complex between the mast cell and IgE. So here is the complex, IgE mast cell complex. So the allergens will settle on the IgE mast cell complex, and this whole complex will release certain inflammatory mediators like histamine, prostaglandin, leukotrienes, and it will stimulate, etc. It will stimulate bronchial smooth muscle. and it will cause bronchoconstriction. Okay, so there is a bronchoconstriction, narrowing of the airway due to these inflammatory mediators, which will lead to difficulty in breathing. And along with this bronchoconstriction, it will also cause plasma exudation, means it will increase the vascular permeability, lead to plasma exudation. Let's say it will develop a mucosal edema. There is excessive mucus secretion, okay, and there will be airway hyperresponsiveness, and there will be some structural changes. Okay, so here is the diagram in which inflammatory cells will release certain mediators which will cause effects like bronchospasm, plasma exudation, mucus secretion, airway hyperresponsiveness, and mucosal structural changes. So here you can see that there is a bronchospasm, means there is a narrowing of airway. Second is plasma exudation, means mucosal edema, which will also narrow the bronchial airways. And third is mucus secretion. So there will be excessive secretion of mucus, which will also narrow the bronchial airway. And there is a increased airway hyperresponsiveness, means even a small allergen or a small stimuli can initiate or trigger the asthmatic attack, and there will be some structural changes due to inflammation. So these are the steps of pathophysiology. Now these are the main cells involved in the pathophysiology of asthma. Okay, so these are the main players, that is that are eosinophils, dendritic cells, Th2 cells, IgE antibodies, and mast cell. So it is a diagram. Now inflammation, exact cause of airway inflammation is unknown, though we have learned that process thought to be. So there is a interplay between endogenous and environmental factors. So what are the endogenous factor? So atopy, genetic, there is a genetic predisposition to IgE mediated type 1 hypersensitivity, and excessive Th2 reaction against environmental antigens. Environmental antigen means allergens. These are the major risk factor of asthma. So asthma is commonly associated with atopic disease like allergic rhinitis, atopic dermatitis, urticaria. Okay, so these all may trigger the attack of asthma. There is a association of 80% in allergic rhinitis. Now genetic predisposition includes polymorphism of gene on chromosome 5q and ADAM33, DPP10, GPRA gene. We will not learn in detail about these genes because this information is sufficient for pathophysiology. So we have mainly discussed about the pathophysiology of atopic or allergic asthma. And what are the environmental factors? So it includes viral infection like respiratory syncytial virus, mycoplasma chlamydia, and hygiene hypothesis propose that lack of infection in early childhood preserves the Th2 cells, whereas exposure to infection and endotoxin results in shift towards a predominant protective Th1 response. So it is a type of fact. And the third is air pollution, and the fourth is allergens like house dust, mites, pollens, molds, etc. Now what is the effect of inflammation? What are the effects of inflammation? So there is a airway epithelium damage. So there is a damage to airway epithelia because there is a production of free radical oxygen species in a cytotoxic cell, then cytotoxins, etc. And shedding may lead to airway hyperresponsiveness. Okay, there is a shedding of the airway which may lead to airway hyperresponsiveness. Second is smooth muscle hyperplasia and hypertrophy due to continuous bronchoconstriction or bronchospasm. Third is vessels increase in number and the blood flow is increased, so there is some angiogenic activity. Fourth is mucus hypersecretion due to hyperplasia of the mucus secreting glands, okay, which will also narrow the airway. Fifth is sensitization of nerve terminals and reflex activation of cholinergic nerves. And the sixth is fibrosis, that is subepithelial fibrosis due to airway remodeling. Second is airway hyperresponsiveness. The excessive bronchoconstrictor responds to multiple inner triggers that will have no effect on normal airways. Okay, so in case of chronic cases, there will be increased airway hyperresponsiveness and even a minimal stimulus like allergens will initiate a severe asthmatic attack. Okay, acute attack. So it is a characteristic physiologic abnormality of asthma. Now what are the triggers and causes of asthma? So triggers of asthma are allergens, viral infections, drugs, exercise, food, air pollutants, physical factors, GERD, that means gastroesophageal reflux disease, stress, and occupational factors. This will triggers the asthma. Okay, allergens will trigger the asthma. Common. This is the summary of pathophysiology. Now let's discuss about the clinical features. So what are the premonitory symptoms? Means these symptoms appears before the attack of asthma. So it includes sneezing, drowsiness, restlessness, irritability, dry and cough, recurrent wheezing and breathlessness. Common symptoms. These symptoms appears during the attack of asthma. Common symptoms are dyspnea, cough, chest tightness and wheeze. Along with these other alternative symptoms are also obtained. We can see that here we can here see that there is a tenacious mucus production, means patient may found difficulty in clearing the secretion. Symptoms worse at night, and there is a non-productive cough, and there is a severe limitation of activity. Now what are the signs of asthma? So there will be increase, of course there is increase in respiratory rate with use of accessory muscles. Okay, so you will be able to see that there in asthmatic patient that they are using accessory muscles for respiration. Okay, there is a hyperresonant percussion note. So why do you obtain hyperresonance on percussion? Because in asthma is a obstructive condition, there will be air trapping, okay, which will produce hyperresonant note. There is expiratory rhonchi which is more in expiration than inspiration. So during very severe attacks, airflow may be insufficient to produce rhonchi. Okay, to produce rhonchi there must be airflow, but during severe attacks, due to severe bronchospasm or bronchoconstriction, rhonchi may not be produced. It is also known as silent chest, and there is no findings even asthma is under control or between attacks. Third is a palpation, decreased tactile vocal fremitus. Okay, so why there is decrease in tactile vocal fremitus? So first of all, what is vocal fremitus? It is refers to a vibration of chest wall that results from a sound vibrations created by speech or other any vocal sounds. So why there is a decrease in TVF? Because in asthma it is an obstructive condition. There is a air trapping which will increase long volumes of air, and it decrease the tactile vocal fremitus. Okay, and the fourth one is auscultation. So there is a diminished vesicular breath sound due to increased anteroposterior diameter, and we can obtain a wheezing on auscultation. So wheezing is episodic, which is found during the attacks of asthma. So why wheezing is produced? Because there is a severe bronchoconstriction, narrowing of the airway. Okay, it will produce a wheeze. Wheeze is a abnormal breath sound. It is a whistle like abnormal breath sound. Okay, it is due to inflammation of segmental bronchi and small airways. Okay, so that is a bronchoconstriction, narrowing of the airway. There will be a bronchoconstriction, narrowing of the airway, and it is usually expiratory. Wheeze is generally expiratory, but in severe condition it can be inspiratory. Now laboratory investigations. So first is how asthma can be estimated. We can estimate the degree of obstruction by pulmonary function test, which includes spirometry. Okay, so spirometry test reveals there is a decrease in FEV1, means decrease in forced expiratory volume in 1 second, as it is obstructive condition, because expiration will be difficult, so air will not be easily moved out. Decrease in FEV1 upon FVC ratio, and decrease in peak expiratory flow rate. So these are the component of PFT. Okay, and there is a 12% decrease in FEV1 15 minutes after beta 2 agonist inhalation. So it is a type of reversibility test. So we know that there is a bronchoconstriction in asthma. So to inhibit bronchoconstriction, to test whether the condition is reversible or not, so to inhibit bronchoconstriction, we should give bronchodilator drug, which will dilate the bronchi to increase the airflow. Okay, so the test is done to see if the person has any improvement in airflow after giving the bronchodilator medication to patient. Okay, so it suggests that if there is a 12% increase in FEV1 in 15 minutes after beta 2 agonist inhalation, the condition is reversible. There is morning dipping in PEF in chronic bronchitis. Second is airway hyperresponsiveness test. It is also known as a provocation test, in which doctor will administer histamine or methacholine. Okay, so it is a part of inflammatory mediator. It will provoke the symptoms of asthma. Okay, so it will administration of histamine and methacholine will cause greater than 20% fall in FEV1. Okay, so we know that histamine was involved in a narrowing of the airway due to certain effects. So histamine administration will cause decrease in FEV1. Third is chest X-ray. So generally chest X-ray is normal, but it may show segmental or lobar collapse. It may also show hyperinflation, pneumothorax or emphysema in chronic condition or in severe cases. Fourth is arterial blood gas analysis. So it reveals hypoxia and hypocarbia. Okay, in severe acute asthma, but in severe acute asthma there is hypercarbia. Hypoxia means a decrease in oxygen level. Fifth is skin hypersensitivity test. So this test is used to diagnose whether the condition is atopic asthma or non-atopic asthma. So we know that the skin hypersensitivity test is positive in atopic or allergic asthma. Sixth is sputum and blood eosinophilia. Okay, so the sputum, phlegm of the asthma is white in color, and there is a blood eosinophilia because we know that there is a activity increase in production of eosinophil by bone marrow. Okay, so there is a blood eosinophilia means increase in eosinophils count. The last is elevated serum IgE levels. Okay, we have learned previously that the plasma cells will produce IgE antibodies. So there is a elevated serum IgE levels. Now drug treatment. So there is a classification of drugs. It includes bronchodilators and controllers. Bronchodilators are used for rapid relief by relaxation of airway smooth muscles. So what will bronchodilator do? It will relax the bronchial smooth muscles. Okay, there is a bronchospasm, but bronchodilator drugs will relax this spasm and it will cause a bronchodilation. It includes beta 2 agonist, anticholinergic agents, and methylxanthines. While controllers inhibits the inflammatory process. Okay, so it has an anti-inflammatory process. It includes steroids, that is glucocorticoids, leukotriene inhibitors, chromones, and anti-IgE therapy. So we will not discuss in detail about mechanism of action and all because it is a part of pharmacology, but here we are discussing about internal medicine. So beta 2 agonists are potent bronchodilators usually given by inhalation route. It will cause a relaxation of airway smooth muscles. It includes short-acting beta 2 agonists that are albuterol, levoalbuterol, terbutaline, pirbuterol, and bambuterol, while long-acting beta 2 agonists are salmeterol and formoterol. Short-acting beta 2 agonist duration of action is 3 to 6 hours, while long-acting beta 2 agonist duration of action is 12 to 12 hours. It is used in combination with inhaled corticosteroid therapy. Now anticholinergic agents, it includes ipratropium bromide and tiotropium bromide. It prevents cholinergic nerve induced bronchoconstriction. Okay, it will prevent bronchoconstriction by inhibiting cholinergic nerves. It is given in asthma who are intolerant to inhaled beta 2 agonist in status asthmaticus. It includes methylxanthines. They are medium potency bronchodilators. Okay, it includes theophylline, theobromine, and caffeine. Next is methylxanthines, which are selective inhibitors of PDE. For it includes roflumilast, silomilast, and tofimilast. Effective for asthma control but not used as a present due to their toxicities. Next is corticosteroid. So it is the important and effective drug for treatment of asthma. Development of inhaled corticosteroid is a major advance in asthma therapy because it has a very good effect. Okay, it reduces the need of rescue beta 2 agonist. So inhaled beta 2 agonists are inhaled corticosteroids are beclomethasone, budesonide, fluticasone, triamcinolone, flunisolide, cyclosinide. Okay, what are the systemic steroid in asthma indication in acute attacks and in chronic severe asthma? Okay, administration of prednisolone of 5 to 10 day course, 30 to 45 mg per day administration. Okay, now next is leukotriene inhibitors. It includes Xilotone, Zafirlukast, Montelukast. Okay, we have seen leukotriene is a part of inflammatory mediators which was released during the pathophysiology. Use in asthma patient and use in patient unable to manipulate inhaler device in aspirant induced asthma and in mild asthma. These are the indications. Also used in moderate to severe asthma. Now chromones like chromoline sodium and nidochromyl sodium. So it is used only in chronic as a condition. On chronic use reduce the overall level of bronchial reactivity. Okay, it has no any effect on airway smooth muscle tone. It is given by inhalation route. So it is used in asthma, prevention of asthmatic attacks in mild to moderate asthma. Last is anti-IgE therapy. So it is a very expensive therapy and it is generally used in a case of persistent asthma. Omalizumab is recombinant humanized monoclonal antibody targeted against IgE. So omalizumab will act on the IgE receptor. that is present on the mast cells. Okay, it will inhibit the IgE receptor, and this IgE antibody will bind with the omalizumab. Okay, so here is the mechanism of action. IgE bound to the omalizumab cannot bind to IgE receptor on mast cell and basophil, thereby preventing the allergic reaction at a very early step in the process. Okay, we know that we have seen that IgE will bind with the mast cell to produce IgE mast cell complex. Okay, it will bind on the IgE receptor, but omalizumab will prevent IgE to bind on mast cell receptors, IgE mast cell receptors. So single subcutaneous injection every 2 to 4 weeks. Omalizumab is used in asthma. It is used in person older than 12 years of age in moderate to severe persistent asthma. It is an expensive drug. Here is the classification for asthma severity grades. Okay, you have to remember it. Here is the stepwise approach for managing asthma in adults. So in intermittent asthma, only short-acting beta-2 agonist is given. Okay, so in all the steps from intermittent to severe persistent asthma, beta-2 agonist is given, slow-acting beta-2 agonist is given. So here it is also to remember which drugs is given in which step. Okay, gradually severity of symptoms increase, and in last step there is we should give high dose intrainhale corticosteroid plus long acting beta 2 agonist plus oral corticosteroid. So we have to remember it. So it is a stepwise approach. Now aerosol delivery of drugs. The topical application of drugs to lungs, it is used when there is a least systemic delivery due to poor absorption from GIT or drug having which high first pass metabolism. So it is devices like metered-dose inhalers, nebulizers and dry powder inhaler are used in aerosol delivery of drugs. Okay. Now status asthmaticus, it is a severe airway obstruction. It is a severe acute asthma. Okay, asthma. It is a severe acute asthma in which there is a persistence of symptoms of asthma despite of initial standard acute asthma medication therapy. So in this there is a severe dyspnea and unproductive cough. Patient will adopt an upright position, fixing a shoulder girdle to assist accessory muscles of respiration. Okay, patient will fight for a breathe. Okay, so there is a sweating, central cyanosis, and tachycardia. Okay, extremities become cold. Okay, there is a upper respiratory tract infection may precipitate status asthmaticus. There is decrease in PO2 levels, and the patient can't breathe. So what is the treatment of status asthmaticus? So first of all, immediate treatment is required. So it includes high concentration oxygen through face mask. Along with this, nebulized salbutamol 5 mg in oxygen given immediately. And if the patient does not respond within 50 to 30 minutes by administration of nebulized salbutamol, ipratropium bromide 0.5 mg plus salbutamol 5 mg is nebulized in oxygen is given. Okay, for those who are not responding to nebulized salbutamol. Okay, along with this, next, terbutaline subcutaneous 0.25 to 0.5 mg is given in patients who have excessive coughing or too weak to inspire adequately, generally in elder population, and hydrocortisone amisoxinate 100 mg IV followed by 100 to 200 mg 4 to 8 hourly infusion. And if all the treatment fails, we can initiate endotracheal intubation and mechanical ventilation. Okay, in treatment failure. Now, what are the recent advances? So there is a production of ultra long acting beta 2 agonist like indacaterol, carmoterol, availability of new bronchodilator drugs like magnesium sulfate K plus channel opener and CRTS2 antagonist. It will inhibit the T alpha 2 cells. Okay, endothelin antagonist, inducible synthase inhibitors. These are under experiment. Okay, inhibition of chemokine receptors, antibodies for IL-4, 5 and 13. Inhibition of IL-4, 5 production and NF-kB inhibitors, mitogen activator protein kinase inhibitors, and lumliximab. It is a brother of omalizumab. Okay, it is a part of the same classification of omalizumab. So, and it is an antibody against low affinity IgE receptors. These are under trials. Now, what is the complication of asthma? If the asthma is not treated adequately, it may lead to serious consequences in chronic cases, and in severe cases, it may lead to atelectasis, bronchiectasis, subcutaneous emphysema, mediastinal emphysema, recurrent bronchitis, pneumonia, MI, respiratory failure, cor pulmonale, hypovolemia, acute myopathy, and pneumosclerosis. Okay, so this amount of information is, I think, enough for you. So we are done with this. Thank you.